All right, folks, 3 days ago, Bank of America came out and said they are remaining bullish on silver, sees $35 an ounce by 2026. See, they're saying $35 an ounce like this is such a high number and it would only happen within 2 years, which silver was just $2 shy of $35 2 weeks ago. How in the world is saying that $35 an ounce in 2 years is bullish when silver was almost $35 just 2 weeks ago? See, here's that, and I don't believe them. They know it's going to be a lot more than that. This is them pretending like $35 an ounce is a lot, given that 2 years is an extremely long time. Like, how could you say you're bullish if in 2 years you think it's only going to go up $2 more? When look at what silver's price was last year during this time. People get so desensitized to certain prices that it makes it hard to look realistically or rationally thinking about other prices, especially given a certain time frame. If they were to say $35 by the end of 2024, that would make more sense. But still, given the huge BRICS meeting in October with like 150 countries all gathering together, then the November election, even that is very modest. We see how fast silver can rise within only a couple of weeks. So imagine in 2 years' time how much is going to happen that's going to affect the price. So it just makes no sense why they're saying like $35 in 2 years. It's like silver could hit $35 in a week from now and it wouldn't even be too crazy given what it's done over the last 3-4 months. Like, I don't understand it. It's them being very modest. It's them playing down silver's potential and making people think that, okay, well, if in 2 years it will only go up to 35, that means it's only going to stay around 32, 33 until then, which is not the case. We just broke past 12-year highs, not too long ago, 12-year highs. And that's a huge deal, meaning we broke past resistance levels that weren't broken past until it went up to $50 from the run to 2011, and we haven't seen that since. So to say that in 2 years it could only go up potentially $1 or $2 is insane. That's them downplaying silver's potential but still saying they're bullish. Like, that's very contradicting. So let's just go over this article. I thought it was funny to read this. No, I do not think they genuinely believe this. They know that $35 will be a lot sooner than 2026. It easily could hit $35 within the next month, and that would be that wouldn't even be too crazy given, the charts, given the actual data, since it was just at 33. And given that we broke past this huge resistance barrier, it's a lot easier for it to go higher. Whereas before it wouldn't, because it would bounce below the resistance, but we broke past it now, so it's a lot easier to. So even given that itself makes this even worse of a claim, or even more proof that it could go to 35 even easier before 2026. If we have not broken past the 12-year resistance barrier, and then them saying this, okay, that's more reasonable. But since we already broke past that $30 resistant barrier and we broke through 12-year highs, now this case makes no sense and will be a lot easier to reach 35 a lot sooner. So let's jump into this article. Remember, if you wanted to purchase silver while it's still cheap, you could email me, slayer@milesfranklin.com, or call me 330-485-6172. So, Bank of America remains bullish on silver, sees $35 an ounce by 2026. What do you think silver will be by the year 2026, by the way? Let me know in the comment section below. Although market volatility has knocked silver down a peg with prices trading below $30 an ounce, a growing chorus of analysts is not ready to give up on the precious metal just yet. And that should be, the way they're wording this is so crazy, because this is the exact opposite of how it should be. Since we just broke past those 12-year resistance levels, now it's not analysts ready to give up, it should be we're just getting ready to get started. We broke past that, of course. There was going to be a dip. There had to be a dip. It's called a pullback. It's called a correction because it's the correct thing to happen. And then, it's the bottom, it's the floor. We have to, there has to be some pullback. There has to be some sell off, or there's not going to be any price stability being built. So if it drops back down, even lower, there's no bottom. But now we're building these, the prices are stabilizing. Goes up to 33, back down to 29. Goes up to 33, back down to 31. Up to 34, down to 32. Up to 35, down to 33. Up to 36, down to 32. Like, it has to gradually, like, that's how prices stabilize, and that's how they stay at those prices. If you just go straight up from 29 to 35 without any prices stability, without any corrections, then that means once it does correct, it's going to shoot all the way back down, lower than where it started. And they're not considering any of this or any of the other variables like manipulation or the shortage or any of the environmental factors, or with the economy and then the dollar and then the BRICS and then the November election and yada yada. Like, there's a lot to this. It's a lot, it's very complex. So you have to take these types of things with a grain of sand. So anyways, Bank of America is the latest institution to weigh in on the market, seeing robust potential in the mining sector. Despite the recent sell-off in silver, Michael Widmer, the bank's precious metal analyst or the strategist, expects silver prices to push to $35 an ounce within the next 2 years. That is so crazy. Like, think how much is going to happen in 2 years. Think how much happens on a day-to-day perspective, let alone week-to-week perspective, let alone month-to-month perspective, let alone year to year. How many wars have been started in the last year alone? What, like four wars have started in 1 year? So think about how much could happen in 2 years. Do you think all of those things happening, they will be affecting the price of silver, and the dollar's value affects the price of silver, all of those things happening? You think silver is just going to slowly bounce between $33 for the next 2 years? No, that is so delusional. That is so delusional to think. That's of course not going to happen. So in the short term, many analysts note that even in the current correction, silver has managed to hold solid support at its upward trending 50-day moving average. And that's even my point further, right? It corrected back. It was up to like 33. We had the correction, but it still is holding support up at 29. Now it's at 30.85. So this article was written 3 days ago. Now it's back up about $31, approaching 31 at least. It's at $30.85, I think, last time I checked. So we're still above 30, even though we broke past 12-year highs, meaning that it is working. The prices are stabilizing at 30, meaning it's a lot lower, or it's going to be a lot harder to go back down lower, and it's a lot easier to go up higher, which is pushing my case even, it's validating my case even more. So in the last couple of years, gold has been the go-to safe haven asset as investors look to hedge against geopolitical risks. However, Bank of America expects now it's silver's time to shine, as it recently started to perform within the precious metal sector. So if they think it's silver's time to shine, why are they saying $35 in the next 2 years? I know, I've been covering articles like this since 2016. It's always like that. They pretend to be bullish, but they will throw out a very modest, or they are bullish. I mean, they really are, but the numbers they throw out are very, very modest. I think the most bullish I ever saw, Citibank, I think it was Citibank and Saxo Bank, 2 or 3 years ago, predicted $50 silver. Now, silver didn't reach $50, but they technically weren't wrong. Silver Slayer, what do you mean? They said $50 silver. Silver wasn't 50. How were they correct? Well, spot price wasn't $50, but the premiums to buy some of this silver was paying $50. Like, a lot of people were selling Eagles on Amazon and other websites for $50, and they were being bought up like hotcakes back when, the same year that they were, I forget if it was 2021 or 2020, 2021, one of those years. Yeah, I mean, they weren't technically wrong, whether it's spot price or the price you pay out of pocket. Does it matter if how much you have to pay for that ounce is 50, does it matter whether it's spot price that's $50 or if it's the premium, the actual, the final price, the total price? It's just a word. A word is just a word. If you have to pay $50 regardless, then they weren't technically wrong. I mean, they said it would be. And yeah, a lot of people paid $50 for an ounce of silver back then. If you're a newer stacker, you probably don't believe me, but yeah, it was. A lot of people were paying those massive premiums. But anyways, so they go on to mention that silver has underperformed gold as industrial demand has been weak. With the global economy turning a corner, the white metal should start to perform better. Additional support is also coming through as the next generation of solar panels, which are more silver intensive, are gaining traction. And yeah, that's the N-type solar cells that use even more silver than before. And that's a thing that I don't think people understand. It's not like as technology gets better, we're going to be using less silver. Since silver is so valuable in this critical role it plays in technology as the most highly conductive metal, we're going to be needing more silver for these EVs, more silver for these solar panels, since silver makes them more efficient. So it's not like we're going to be cutting down the amount of silver. It's actually going to be taking more silver to make each solar panel. So in this environment, Widmer affirmed the bank's buy rating for silver equities. The bank's two biggest silver picks are Pan American and Wheaton Precious Metals. I'm not going to go over the silver miners, but yeah. So they also go into we are seeking a lack of interest among assets under management at physically backed ETFs. This is also reflected in CME net non-commercial positions, trading volumes on the Shanghai Gold Exchange, Shanghai Futures Exchange, and U.S. coin purchases. Yet, we also note encouraging signs in commercial demand, which may ultimately attract investors, reinforcing our constructive view of the metal in 2024, Widmer said in the note. So, I thought that was pretty interesting. I'm curious what you think silver's price will be by the year 2026. Do you think it will be $35 an ounce like Bank of America? Do you think it will be $50 an ounce? Do you think by then it will be $100 an ounce? Do you think it will be $25 an ounce? You'd be surprised on the vast, on the vast, or I guess, let me put it this way. There's two different types of people. There's those that don't think silver will do anything. They are very bland about it. They don't really think that silver has any potential. And it's not even really because of corruption or suppression. They don't even really believe in that. They just look at silver the same reason, for the same value that gold has. It's just something you put your money into if you want to, hedge against inflation, like an investment. They're not taking in consideration that the silver is extremely suppressed. They don't take in consideration COMEX corruption. They don't take in consideration the huge silver shortage there is, which is not in the same role of gold, where gold isn't really scarce. They're not taking in consideration any of this or how much silver is going to be needed as we're breaking records with the amount of silver or the supply deficits, and then the industrial demand, reaching new record levels. Like, those people that look at it just from the perspective of gold, that don't incorporate all of the other things I just added on top of that, of course, aren't going to think silver is going to do much in the next 2 years. They'll say, well, why would it? But it's because they're missing a huge slice of the puzzle. And if you don't look at the entire puzzle, then of course you're not going to think the results will be that great. So, there's two different types of people. So yeah, what do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. Remember, folks, I love you. Make sure to subscribe and click the bell if you want daily videos brought to you, because you cannot be blindly investing. You always got to be kept in the loop, and I will do that for you. Thanks for tuning in. This was Silver Slayer. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.